The next section in chapter 2 is called Organizing Shots Using Flags and Filters. Okay, Resolve provides helpful organizational tools, and organization is key, by the way, to doing a good job as a colorist or DIT. But this organization tool we're going to talk about first is called flags. These flags can assist you in identifying and categorizing clips based on any criteria or criterion that you define. For example, you may decide that, hey, I have a lot of shots, not all of them, but a lot of shots that have overexposed skies. That means that I'm going to have to correct those skies. Okay, say there you have 100 clips in the timeline here, 100 clips, and 30 of them are shots that I need to correct the sky because it's overblown, it's too bright, overexposed. All right, now of course they're not all 30 in a row, so they're scattered throughout those 100 shots. So I would go through, watch the timeline, or look at each clip of the timeline and drop a flag on each one of the clips that has a sky that's overexposed. Okay, and after I do that, I can then say when I get to the part of my color correction process where I need to correct those skies, I can filter out all of the 100 clips down to only the 30 clips. I'll only see the 30 clips of my timeline down here that have the green flags in them, and I can correct them one behind another, and I can compare them to each other, and even do my shot matching, you know, based on that filtering, which is great. Now, flags can have different colors, all right? And the different colors are great because I can categorize them using color. For example, all the shots that have the overblown sky, maybe they all have green flags. All the shots that have trees in them, and I need to go in and correct the color of the wood, okay, maybe I dropped a red flag on those, okay, and I want to correct those one after the other without having to worry about the other clips, okay? So I can use one of a lot of different colors of flags to delineate, okay, which shot fits in which category of color correction. Okay, let's talk about how to apply a flag. Okay, it's very simple. To apply a flag, you simply, I'll start with this clip 3, which we've seen before. You simply right click or control click the clip in the timeline that you want to add a flag to, go to the flags section or the flag submenu on the contextual menu that appears, and then choose the color flag that you'd like to apply. For example, if I choose yellow here, you can see this clip now has a yellow flag in its upper left-hand corner. There's also another method that you can use that doesn't really work in this version of Resolve if you have 16, the keyboard shortcut of G to add a flag. So for example, this clip 2, if I wanted to add a clip, a really quick way would be to select the clip and press G. It doesn't work. Why? Because in DaVinci Resolve 16, the keyboard shortcut to add a flag is no longer G. Okay, as a matter of fact, in DaVinci Resolve 16, there is no default keyboard shortcut to add a flag. The letter G is being used, but by a different command, okay? Say you wanted to assign a keyboard shortcut to add a clip by default, you can go up to the DaVinci Resolve menu and go down to keyboard customization, okay? Keyboard customization allows you to, number one, see all the keyboard shortcuts for all the commands, and number two, if there's certain commands, like for example, close current timeline, if it doesn't have a keystroke or keyboard shortcut, I can assign it one, all right? So remember, I control clicked a clip in the timeline and chose a flag I wanted to add. Well, that same command is found in the mark menu. I'll show that in a second. But if I click on the mark menu down here under this commands list, I'll see an add flag item here. Okay, now anytime you see this little greater than sign, that means add flag is not just, you know, it's not just one command, there are a series of commands. I'm gonna spin down that triangle. You can see I can add a blue flag, add a cocoa flag, a cream flag, a current selected flag, whatever, you know, color you want out of this list, mint, purple, red, rose, whatever color you want, you can add. And in order, if I wanted to add a keystroke to that, what I can do is I can click in the column under keystroke that's across from the color flag that I want to apply, then type in a keyboard command like Shift, let's say try Shift B. Okay, Shift B apparently is not being used. okay? Because if it was, I'd get a little caution sign saying, hey, Shift B is being used for another color. So you can't use it, or you probably shouldn't use it. You shouldn't reassign it to add a flag. You could have the keyboard shortcut assigned, like one that's being used for another command, assigned to this new command, but it's discouraged. You want to try to see if you can find a unique keyboard shortcut. And a system would work even better. For example, if I use the letter if I use the key modifier Shift before every marker, or for every flag, okay, that would be a good system to remember. So like Shift in the first letter. Okay, so let's go to green. I'm going to click on that column and go Shift G. Okay, see, wow, great, wonderful. It's not being used. Let's go. I'm going to stick with ones that are, easy, like red, Shift R. Great. You can see rose would be something else entirely, but we're not going to worry about that now. Yellow, let's try Shift Y. Okay. Okay, so of course there are lots here: cream, cocoa, cyan, things like that, fuchsia. Okay, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. I'm just going to show you how to set a custom keyboard shortcut. Okay, and you can do that for any command in Resolve, not just in the color section. I'm gonna hit save. Okay, and it's going to ask me, what do I want to call this keyboard mapping preset? What I've done is I've mapped the keyboard shortcut Shift B, for example, so that when I press Shift B, a blue flag will pop up on the selected clip. That's what mapping means. I've established a relationship between a keyboard shortcut and a command. Shift B is mapped to add flag, add a blue flag. Okay, so what I want to call this, I'll call this, I'll say Adobe Premiere Pro, because actually the reason why it starts off with Adobe Premiere Pro is because of the fact that one thing you can do is you can choose to use your Premiere Pro keyboard shortcuts in Resolve, okay? Especially in the editing part of it, that makes things a lot easier, okay? But I'm just gonna choose Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's say, I don't know, let's call it 2. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but you do wanna remember it so that you can recall that set of keyboard shortcuts when you're ready for them. And I hit close to get rid of it. I told you I was gonna show you where you can choose to add a marker from a menu at the top of the screen. So if I click on a clip first, that's the first step in adding a flag. I'm sorry, not a marker, a flag, although the process is very similar. Select the clip that you want to add the flag to, go to the mark menu, go down to add flag, and then choose the color you want. As you can see, I have the keyboard shortcuts over here. This wasn't here before, in the right margin, okay? So if I wanted blue, I'll just click on blue. Bam, I have my blue marker, my blue flag. I have my blue flag in the upper left-hand corner, all right? Flags are great because of the fact that, say for example, on this clip that's selected, you can see it in the viewer window here. I can make notes. Like for example, I can tell from my parade scope, because I have this big blob of red trace way lower on the graph than the equivalent trace on the green or the blue channels, I can say, hey, this shot is really red in the shadows, because the shadows are the darker part of the waveform at the bottom of the screen. So let's say that's a note I want to put on this shot to remind myself what I need to do to correct this shot. I'm going to double click the flag, okay? And then I'm going to add a note, red in shadows, something like that, okay? You can also see that I can change the color of the flag, and you can also see I can just straight up remove the flag if I wanted to. So that's how one of the ways you can delete a flag is you simply double click the flag and then click the remove flag button, all right? You can also see that once I've added a note to a flag or a comment to a flag, it has a black circle with a white ring around it on the flag. That lets you know it's not just a flag, it's a flag with a note attached. Okay, let's double click on this flag with the note attached, and it'll bring up the note done. Okay, so when you double click on a flag that has a note to it, it'll bring the note up as well. You don't have to limit your use of flags to just one flag per clip. I may have 2 things that I need to do in this clip right here. Okay, for example, I may say, hey, there's a lot of blue in my shadows. Okay, maybe that's why I dropped the green flag. And maybe I also want to increase the contrast significantly. I'm just making this up. Or maybe say the skies are overblown and I don't see much detail in the highlights here. I don't see, any puffy clouds, any outlines of clouds if they're back there. So that orange flag may indicate that, okay, that's another issue that I need to resolve with this clip. I also need to bring down the luminance on the highlights in this shot so those skies aren't so bright. So as you can see, clips can have more than one flag. Also, I'm going to remove some flags here, and I'm going to put the flags back. I can select any number of clips in the timeline. You can see when I can select one clip. I'll do it again. I can select one clip, press and hold the shift key, and select the last clip in line that I want to select. It'll give me these 3 clips. This is called the multi-select contiguous when I use the shift key to do it, and it'll select all 3 of them. And what I can do is I can simply go up to the mark menu, go down to add flag, and go down to let's add blue. So as you can see, it added blue flags there to each one of the selected ones. Okay, so that's adding multi-selecting clips and adding flags. I can select multiple clips with the command key down, okay? And now they don't have to be contiguous. That means they don't have to be all in a row. I can skip some in between. And everything I command click or control click, if you're on a PC, will be selected. And so I can go up to the mark menu again, add flag. Let's add a sky flag. And as you can see, to each one of those selected clips, I have now a sky flag. Okay. All right. By the way, I haven't talked about markers yet, but I can remove markers just like I remove flags by double clicking them in the mini timeline down here at the bottom and choosing remove marker. I won't see a marker. I won't see a marker in my timeline here, my main timeline with the individual clips. I'll see it in my mini timeline, this little timeline with these very thin blue lines here. You can see the marker right here. Okay. I double click on the marker and it gives me the same options that it gives me for flags. Okay. I can make colored markers. I can make notes to it. I can give the marker a name. And of course you can give a marker a duration so it stands for more than just one frame. So I'm gonna remove the marker, which begs the question, what's the difference between flags and markers? Okay. Well, first of all, flags apply to an entire clip. Okay. So when I add a flag to this clip right here, this fourth clip in the timeline, I can only, this flag applies to every frame in this one clip. I cannot assign this flag to any particular frame within this clip. All right. Of course, as you know, I can add multiple flags to the same clip, but neither one of these flags apply to any particular frame. However, if I were to use the keyboard shortcut to add a marker to a clip, and I know exactly where I am in a timeline, not just by the fact that I'm on the 4th clip and it's highlighted in orange here in my main timeline, but in my mini timeline, I can see I'm on the 1, 2, 3, 4th clip, and I am right at about at the 6 second and 12 frame mark. If I press M, bam, I get a marker there. Okay. Now this marker, if you look at this little overlay here, this marker happens at 1 hour, 0 minutes, 6 seconds, and 12 frames. If I double click the marker, you can see I get my edit marker window, and it says that the duration of this marker is only 1 frame, not 1 second, but 1 frame. Whereas a flag refers to more than 1 frame. Okay, a flag refers to the whole clip. So that's the major difference between the marker and the flag. And I will tell you this, you can use flags on the color page. You see we're on the color page here. Okay, but if you remember from Premiere, editing, that's where you would use markers more often. When you do editing, when you actually edit the clip together first. Okay, So yeah, you can use markers for different purposes in color correction, but flags are probably a little bit more useful. Okay. All right, so let's say I have lots of different colors of flags here. And let's say, hey, I only want my timeline to show the flags that are green, because say all these shots have something in common and I need to correct them one after the other. There is a clips drop-down menu at the top of the screen. If you click this clips drop-down menu right here, it will say, okay, I can show all clips, which is what's showing now, all the clips that I have in my timeline that I've edited and brought over to color. Or I can go over to the flagged clips option and I can choose a flag color that I want to show. All the clips that have the green flag, for example, I'll click on that, and all the clips go away that don't have a green flag. Now you see I have a few here that have a green flag and a blue flag, or green flag and a sky flag. But one thing they all have in common is that they all have a green flag. All right. So that means that I can tell you from this one, these three at least, and I guess that one, they all have rhinoceroses in them, or rhinoceri, whatever the plural for rhinoceros is. And so because it's the same rhinoceros, each one of these would require the same adjustment. And I probably want to match the adjustments on these 4 clips. So every time you see the rhinoceros, they look the same, okay? The rhinoceros will look the same every time you see the rhinoceros. But let's say we had a shot of the rhinoceros here and we had a shot of the rhinoceros there. I should have to correct the shot of the rhinoceros here, then correct an unrelated clip and correct an unrelated clip and correct another unrelated clip. They come back and do the same adjustment that I did on the rhinoceros here. By that time, I may have forgotten what I've done to the rhinoceros the first time, right? And may make a correction that makes this rhinoceros look a little different from the previous rhinoceros. And they're actually the same rhinoceros, by the way, I'm guessing. So by filtering out all the clips that are not of the rhinoceros, let's say we flagged all my clips with rhinoceroses as green, I can correct these back to back to back to ensure they all have luminance and color continuity, meaning that they all look the same. So I'm going to go back to clips and show all clips again. I have everything there. So that's all we have for this second section of chapter 2, talking about that speaks of organizing shots using flags and filters. We saw how we can apply flags of different colors and then filter out all the flags that are not of the color that I want to see. And we learn how that can really help us in our color correction duties. The next section we're going to talk about is called applying shot match. And that's actually a function that's like a kind of an automatic process in Resolve that can analyze a color in one image and reconfigure the balance of colors in another image or in multiple images to match them. That's what we're going to talk about next in the next episode. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next episode.